for the third and final segment of this episode 25 of Morning Kickoff. I'm going to be talking about next year's draft. Now, this year's draft just ended, and you can kind of see what teams are trying for next year and gonna just tank next year. And we don't know if Trevor is going to be the number one pick. We don't know if he's going to be the number one pick. However, right now, if the draft happened and Trevor Lawrence was going to the draft, he would have been the number one pick. Now, last year, around this time, after the draft happened last year, it was all tanking for Tua. This year, it's tanking for Trevor. Now, tanking for Tua was because Tua won the national championship in Alabama, broke records, looked really good in Alabama, and would have probably been the number one pick, maybe even over Kyler Murray. And yeah, he would have probably been the number one pick. Tua Tagovailoa. However, the injury happened and stuff like that. He wasn't the number one pick. He wasn't even the first quarterback off the board. But the team that was said to be tanking for Tua the entire time ended up getting Tua, the Miami Dolphins, with the 5th overall pick, who we look at last year, the Miami Dolphins were not trying to lose. So when I say tanking, I don't mean that they're trying to lose. However, they're not trying to win. Like, the Miami Dolphins have no intentions of even making the playoffs. They're just playing to have fun. Right here, this play where they had the kicker throw to the punter or something like that, they were trying to throw away the game. They didn't want to win the game. It would have not been good for them to win the game, but they're just having fun. They're out there having fun, and the Miami Dolphins ended up accidentally beating a lot of teams, even the New England Patriots. Now, okay, they're not going to try to. They definitely tried against the New England Patriots because they're like big rivals. So you don't try to lose against your rivals. But a lot of away games, you kind of just tank and you just do whatever. It's not trying to lose. Tanking is not trying to lose. It's just you're better off losing, and you're okay with losing. It's like, okay, good, we're losing, so now we can get better picks in next year's draft, which was kind of how the Miami Dolphins were this year, the Washington Redskins were this year, and the Cincinnati Bengals were this year. They're just not good enough of a team. The Cincinnati Bengals benched Andy Dalton just so they could lose. Like, Andy Dalton was clearly the best quarterback on their team, but they benched him because they're like, oh, we don't want to accidentally win a game. Miami Dolphins did not do that. They stuck with their Fitzmagic guy, and still. Anyways, we're going to be talking about the teams that I think are going to be needing a quarterback in next year's draft, or possibly could be needing a quarterback in next year's draft, starting with the biggest one, who I think is going to be the worst team this year, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew is not a starting quarterback. The Jacksonville Jaguars right now have Gardner Minshew, and they don't have Nick Foles anymore. They traded him away. They're trying to lose. Well, okay. They're not trying to lose. They don't want to win is what I'm trying to say. They're just doing whatever. The Jacksonville Jaguars with the 9th pick went with C.J. Henderson, probably just because he went to Florida State. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, are going to suck this next season and probably be the worst in the entire NFL. And yeah, so they're better off losing all their games and getting Trevor Lawrence. And that would be very useful for them because I don't think Gardner Minshew is that great. He was a 6th or 7th round pick a couple of years ago. And yeah, he's a good backup. Gardner Minshew is a good backup, not a starting quarterback. And anyways, Jacksonville Jaguars, number 1. They still need a quarterback. They're better off losing all their games and getting Trevor Lawrence. Next up, we have the New England Patriots, who right now still, I think, do need a quarterback. New England Patriots. Bill Belichick is going to end up winning a lot of games for them just because Bill Belichick's going to do everything he can to win every game. After every game they lose, after every game they win, he doesn't care. He goes to the next game and tries to game plan for the next game, which is what like all head coaches do. But Bill Belichick is different. He's a lot different. He will do anything he can. And no, Bill Belichick is not tanking for Trevor. No way. That's not happening. There's a 0% chance. And then next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts, who, again, the Indianapolis Colts do need a quarterback. I know they got Phillip Rivers. I know they have Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, I think, is a really good backup, not a starting quarterback. Phillip Rivers is obviously a starting quarterback, but Phillip Rivers is, like, how old is he? I don't know, but he's not going to be there for very much longer, and I think they will be needing a quarterback. And next year, they got Phillip Rivers. They added a lot of new starters. They traded for DeForest Buckner. No, Indianapolis Colts are not tanking for Trevor. Indianapolis Colts are trying to actually win the Super Bowl this year. They're going to go all in this year, which makes a lot of sense, especially when they're in a division that's not very tough. I mean, they're in a division with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I just talked about how bad they are, with the Tennessee Titans, who are actually pretty good. Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry and the Ryan Tannehill. With Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and A.J. Brown, Tennessee Titans are pretty good. So, and then you have the Houston Texans, who just Bill O'Brien sucks. Okay, Bill O'Brien is an awful head coach. So yeah, they're in a pretty easy division. They just have to battle with the Tennessee Titans, who I think the Indianapolis Colts are better than them, and the Indianapolis Colts will win their division. So they're going all in this year, and no, Indianapolis Colts are not taking for Trevor. After that, we have the... Okay, we're back. If you're watching on YouTube, there was probably like a black screen right there. Something happened with the video. Okay, anyways, where did we leave off? Okay, so for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have to lose their games. Now, I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were already going to have a quarterback by this point. I thought they were going to have Jameis Winston. They were going to take Jameis Winston in free agency, or take Jalen Hurts in the draft, or take literally any quarterback in the draft that they think could be a really good backup and possibly a starter. And it's very much of a surprise that they didn't, because Ben Roethlisberger is very injury prone, and Ben Roethlisberger is very old. So when he gets injured, he's out the rest of the season. Last season, they had Mason Rudolph come in there, and the team did not like Mason Rudolph. He was a terrible backup. After that, they had Duck Hodges, a dude who literally nobody knew. He was free agency, and anyways, still, Duck Hodges is garbage. You need a good backup when you have a quarterback that old and a quarterback that has that very injury prone. So you need a good quarterback to be your backup. And right now, Trevor Lawrence would not be a backup. Trevor Lawrence would be a starter. So taking Trevor Lawrence in next year's draft to replace Ben Roethlisberger, who is not very good right now. Ben Roethlisberger had great seasons at the start of his career, and now is really declined, and I don't think he's good at all anymore. So taking a new quarterback would be huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially when they have not really any talent. They're in a rebuilding phase right now. They don't have much talent on both offense and defense. They have some good players, yes, but at the same time, they have a really good coaching staff, and taking a new quarterback, rebuilding around this new quarterback would be really good for them. And that quarterback could be Trevor Lawrence if they tank this year. They are in a division with the Browns, who, okay, it's the Browns. It's not a very tough team. They're not actually in much of a hard division, actually. The Browns and Bengals are both like laughing stocks of the whole NFL. And then after that, you have the Baltimore Ravens, who are a very successful franchise, and last year had the most Pro Bowlers, so they're still a really good team. So yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers, I think very well they could take Trevor Lawrence, but it would be hard for them to actually end up with the first overall pick. So if Trevor Lawrence does go to like 3-4, maybe there's some defensive players from the Ohio State before them. I don't know, but Trevor Lawrence, they could end up with Trevor Lawrence, and I think it'd be very smart, because I think they need a quarterback, and nobody's talking about it. No one is talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and how bad they need a quarterback right now, with obviously both their backups last year not being liked at all and being awful. And then Ben Roethlisberger, old. They need a rebuild. They need to rebuild. They need to just start a new team right now. So I have the Pittsburgh Steelers on this list, and I think they really should tank. However, I don't think they are going to tank unless Ben Roethlisberger. If Ben Roethlisberger does get injured again, I think they will tank. It'd make a lot of sense. And they didn't have a first-round pick either. So they have like Minkah Fitzpatrick, and that's why they didn't have a first-round pick. So yeah, they don't have like anything. They didn't get much in this draft at all. And then after that, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions had a really good draft. The Detroit Lions had an awesome draft, and they're going to be really good this year, I do think. However, with that being said, Matthew Stafford, again, is old and injury prone. Actually, he's not that old. Still, he's injury prone. He gets injured every year. After that, their backups. Last year, I don't think David Blau is their backup anymore. I think they did get a new quarterback. Anyways, they can get rid of Matthew Stafford, trade him away, get a new quarterback, because, again, the Detroit Lions are always in a rebuilding phase every single year, and they have talent on offense, too. They did add some talent on offense. Their receiving core is pretty old also. The outside of their TJ Hawkinson as their tight end and about like two of their quarterbacks, their running back group is really young. They have a very young running back group. They just grabbed DeAndre Swift in the second round. Might have been a bit of an overdraft for the Detroit Lions. I feel like third round would have been smarter to take a running back, but still, it's DeAndre Swift. You can't complain. So the Detroit Lions are not tanking. The Detroit Lions, I think, will be... This is going to be a very bold prediction, but as of right now, I do have the Detroit Lions as the second best team in the NFC North. I don't know who is going to be the first best team. This is going to be rankings after next season. There's going to be either Packers or Vikings get first. After that, I think the Detroit Lions are going to get second, and then it's going to be either Packers or Vikings again, and then Bears on the bottom. That's going to be my prediction. As of right now, it can very change. I mean, we still have 2 waves of free agency to go. We have trades that are still going to happen. I'm not making predictions any bit yet, but as of right now, that's what I do have them at. And I think the Detroit Lions, after having a very good draft class, are not going to tank. It's going to be almost impossible for them, especially because Matt Patricia is on the hot seat. If he has a bad season, he's probably going to get fired, and they're going to go for a full rebuild. So if they have an awful season and they can get Trevor or another quarterback, it's going to be another like full rebuild for the Detroit Lions, letting a lot of people go. All of their young starters, the young stars that they just took in this draft that honestly could be stars. They got Jeffrey Okudah, Jeffrey Okudah is going to be amazing. He's going to be so good. And then they got DeAndre Swift. We don't know a whole lot about DeAndre Swift if he can translate well into the NFL. A lot of running backs don't, but DeAndre Swift that's a pretty good pick still. And then Julian Aguara, who's going to be a great linebacker. And then after that, more picks. So again, Detroit Lions, I do think, are going to have a great season this year. But if it goes the opposite way and they do have an awful season, they could be getting Trevor. They could. If Matthew Stafford gets injured, get Matt Patricia out of there, take a new quarterback, new head coach, build around him. They're going to be a whole rebuilding. Again, they're always in a rebuilding phase. Okay. Whatever. All right. So this, for some reason right now, is you can't even see me talking because something's going on with my camera. So this is just going to be me talking, and I don't know what you're going to be looking at. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on podcast or anything, it's going to be there. But anyways, so after that, we have the Chicago Bears. A lot of people will argue the Chicago Bears do not need a quarterback right now. I mean, they just got Mitchell Trubisky. Well, no, they had Mitchell Trubisky. They just got Nick Foles. So yeah, Chicago Bears will not be tanking this year. But if they have an awful season, they could be getting Trevor in next year's draft. After that, the Washington Redskins, again, they have Dwayne Haskins. They're not going to be tanking, but they're in a tough division now with Cowboys and Eagles looking harder, and very well could be getting next year's first-round pick if Dwayne Haskins does not work for them and taking Trevor and Dwayne Haskins being a backup for them or a backup somewhere else. And then after that, I have my Minnesota Vikings. Way too much talent to tank. Again, they're not going to tank, but if the season goes really bad for them, they're not going to end up with a top 10 pick. They have too much talent to end up with a top 10 pick, but could be looking for a quarterback next year's draft. Maybe it could be Trevor if he has a bad season at college or at Clemson, and could be falling to the Vikings, honestly. Vikings are not going to have a top 10 pick, though. That's going to be my prediction. So let me know what y'all think about my teams that should be tanking for Trevor, could be tanking for Trevor, and let me know what y'all think. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time.